Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Draw Control Podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined by UTampa women's lacrosse player Isabella Avila. In her lacrosse career, Isabella has played in 60 games and has 5 goals and helped the UTampa women's lacrosse team win 2 national championships. Before college, Isabella achieved first team all conference for 4 years and was second team all league. Isabella, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, and how is everything going?
Everything is great. Thank you so much for having me. Just still kind of riding on a high after this season, but I'm excited to be here and talk about how everything went.
Yeah, well, obviously your season wrapped up about a month ago with a national championship win. So overall, what has it been like reflecting on this past season and what your team accomplished?
It's been great. It's like kind of a surreal experience, and people ask a lot of times like how it felt or like what it was like. But it's just kind of hard to explain, but I'm super grateful that like this team got to do it. These girls are like my best friends. And so to do it with them and to have a lot of fun while we were doing it was really important to us. So it's just super exciting that we got to finish the way that we wanted to and the season ended how it did.
Does it feel better a second time? Obviously, you know that now.
Yeah, it definitely does. It gets better hopefully every time. We'll see this year if we can make it happen again. But I think it gets better and better every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, obviously, like you alluded to, you're coming back to Tampa for your fifth year. What led you to make that decision, and how excited are you to play another year of college lacrosse?
I'm super excited. My sophomore year, I actually faced an injury, so I got a red shirt year for that. And I think that that was like one of the best things that ever happened to me in my college career because I got to gain a perspective that I hadn't had yet. Going in, I got a little bit of playing time my freshman season, but to be able to stand on the sideline and kind of change the role that I was used to having, I learned a lot about like the game and the reffing and the rules. I got to watch the draw a lot, which I think helped me be so successful this past season on the draw as well. Just watching girls on my team take the draw, but also other teams and kind of learning like the strategy of that. And so after I had that time on the sideline, being able to kind of take everything that I had learned and the new experience that I had gained, I was excited. I was like, I need to come back for another year. Like, I'm not done yet. I had things that I wanted to accomplish, not just with the team, but individually. And I was like, I need another year to do that. So that's kind of where my decision came from. But yeah, I'm really excited for this next season and excited to see how the team can grow because every year it just keeps getting better. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to transition now and sort of start off the podcast talking about the beginning of your lacrosse career, sort of work all the way up to where we are now. So on your bio, it says that you're from Worthington, Ohio. What was it like growing up there, and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Um, Worthington, Ohio. Ohio isn't like the first state that you think of when you think of lacrosse, but Worthington was actually the first city or like program for a high school team. So I think that there's a lot of pride within the Worthington community of playing lacrosse. My dad actually played in high school for my high school team, and that's the same for a lot of the girls who played on my high school team with us. So I think it's a lot of tradition that runs kind of deep. But being from Ohio, like there's not a lot of options to play lacrosse and it's not like the first state that you think of. And so, um, kind of like making the most of it and having a lot of fun, but also it required a lot of branching out and finding different ways to kind of get yourself noticed, in order to get recruited. So a lot of girls, played club out of state or played club for, really highly competitive teams or had to try out for, like Under Armour Select and all of these different things to try to get out there. But it's been super cool to see since I've graduated from high school how much the sport of lacrosse has grown in the past like 5, 10 years in Ohio and especially in like the greater Columbus area.
Yeah, growing up, who was like your favorite lacrosse player or team that you like to watch?
I actually played field hockey for a majority of my life, and that's what I thought I was going to end up doing in college. And that was kind of where my recruiting process was leading me. And so growing up, I wasn't watching that much college lacrosse, but I've always been a Northwestern fan when I had watched games. And so I'm always cheering for them. One of my best friends, she didn't play at Northwestern, but she went to Northwestern. And so that kind of gave me another tie to it. Um, but then once I committed to play lacrosse in college, that's when I kind of locked in on all of the players and like being a fan of teams. And at that point, ironically, Abby Bosco was like my favorite player, and her sister actually plays on my team, Jenna Myhall. And so coming into college when Jenna said that, I was like fangirling super hard. And I probably embarrassed myself in front of Abby a handful of times when I've met her, but I think that she's just the most aggressive player. Her transition game is insane. She's so gritty off the draw and on defense. And I think I took a lot of inspiration from how she plays, and I try to translate that into my game as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully Jenna was really excited when you told her that. So that's pretty cool that you get to play with her sister, like you said. So not many people get to say that.
Yeah, yeah, it's super exciting.
Now, before college, you played for your high school at Thomas Worthington High. What was your time like there? And do you have like a favorite memory with that team when you look back on it now?
hmm I think my high school team reminds me a lot of the relationship that I have with our team at Tampa too. It was a lot of, oh, I'm sorry. It was a lot of like fun and having a good time and making the most of practices and enjoying our time together. And so, um, I think my favorite memories are just like hanging out with the team. We did this team bonding a lot where we would go to one of our teammates' lake houses and spend the weekend there at the beginning of season and just play games with each other and just hang out. But it was a pretty competitive program. You know, we were going to regionals every year. We were one of the better teams in the state. And so we were facing a lot of high competition, and we didn't really get to finish the same way that I got to when we got to Tampa. But I think we still had a lot of fun while, working hard and being competitive.
Now, you also play club lacrosse for Lucky Lax Club. How did your club lacrosse experience sort of help prepare you for college with UTampa?
hmm like I said earlier, I was looking mainly to play field hockey in college. And so I didn't even start playing club until going into my junior year of high school. And I was connected with Lucky Lax because a lot of girls that were on my high school team and a lot of girls that I grew up playing lacrosse with played for Lucky Lax. And one of my high school coaches was actually the director of Lucky Lax at the time. And so every now and then I would get a message growing up like, hey, we're kind of short on defenders for this tournament. Like, could you come sub in and like come with us here? And so I would do that now and then, and I was familiar with the team. But then once I decided that field hockey wasn't really the route that I wanted to take for college anymore, that's when I realized that I needed to join a club team if I wanted to be able to get recruited for lacrosse. So going into my junior year, I think that it was really helpful to see other girls who were looking to get recruited, who had experience playing in like college, all of the like coaches and stuff that we had, and my director, and being able to just like watch firsthand how the recruiting process goes for lacrosse because I was familiar with it with field hockey, but I hadn't really seen how that was going. So I think that just playing with like-minded and mutual people who had similar goals, who were going and touring campuses, who were going to camps, I think that that helped me understand like what I needed to do in order to play at the next level.
Well, what was your recruiting process like with UTampa? What made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, my recruiting process was like a little bit different because, like I said, I wanted to play field hockey in college, and so I didn't really think about playing lacrosse until later on. And in my sophomore year, the head coach of Tampa, Kelly Gallagher, she's actually from my hometown, and her dad coached my dad in high school. And she was just in town one year, watched, just came to stop by at one of our high school games. And my dad was like, hey, I know Kelly Gallagher, like you should go up and say hi to her. She coaches at Tampa. And at the time, I wanted to play field hockey, but I was also at this point in my recruiting process kind of tunnel vision on going D1, which I think a lot of girls kind of have that experience when they first start out. They like, the dreams are to go to Maryland, to UNC, to like whatever, and not even those big names, but just to have the name of going D1. And so when my dad told me to go up and talk to Kelly, I was like, what is the University of Tampa? Like, what is Division two lacrosse? I've never heard of this program before. I don't even know like what D2 lacrosse teams are. And he was like, well, just go say hi. Like, I know her. Like, just put yourself out there, get her information. So I went up and I said hello to her. She gave me her card. And then after that, we just kind of kept emailing back and forth. She would check in on me in my following field hockey season that next fall. And then she got to the point where she was like, hey, it's really important to us that the people that we're talking to have the chance to come and look at the campus and like see where they could potentially be spending the next 4 years. So that fall, I was going to have a tournament for field hockey in West Palm Beach. My dad and I were like, okay, let's just drive over to Tampa and see how it is. And the second I stepped foot on campus, I was like, yeah, this is where I'm going. And I met the girls, and a lot of their competitiveness and their long-term goals aligned with what I wanted and the coaching staff. seemed pretty familiar to me in the sense of how I was coached through other people in high school. And that was pretty comfortable for me. And I was excited to come here and do all the things that they said that they wanted to accomplish and that they knew that they could eventually. And that was it. I committed shortly after that, my junior year, and I actually didn't look at any other schools for lacrosse because I was just looking for field hockey at the time. But I'm really glad that I didn't. I think everything worked out perfectly. So.
Yeah, I would say so as well. And well, when you got to campus, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse?
The biggest adjustment to college lacrosse, I would say, is just like the competitiveness that you face every day at practice. Obviously, when you're in high school, not everybody is going to be competing to, go play at the next level or whatever. And so coming in every day and realizing that not even just in games, but at every single practice, at every single lift, at every single run, like people are watching you not only to kind of see like if you're the person that can get the job done on the field, but also people look up to you and they're trying to, you're trying to be a leader as well on the team. And a lot of people feed off of the energy of other people. So there's no time to take a rep off. And it's not going to do you any service and it's not going to do your teammates any service if you don't go out there and you don't compete to 100% every single day. And I think that was like a huge adjustment that I had to make coming into college because I was like, oh my God, I have to be prepared that anytime the ball's in my stick at practice, like somebody's going to be coming after me. But I also have to know that if somebody else has the ball in their stick at practice, I have to be going after them. And there's not a time that I can blink. Like I have to go at all times for those 2 hours that I'm there every day.
Now, what's it like playing in the SSC conference and just the competition that you face each game?
Um, I may be a little bit biased, but I do think that our conference is one of or the best or most competitive conferences in the country. Um, but I think that that is single-handedly the reason that our team has grown so much over the past 4 or 5 years that I've been here. Um, because we're facing this competition on a regular basis, not only in like fall ball scrimmages and stuff, but a lot of these teams were playing multiple times throughout the year. And that's the competition that we need to make us get better every season. And like majority of our conference was ranked in the top 10 and then those who weren't were ranked in the top 20 and almost our entire conference was ranked in the top 20 and I don't think a lot of other people get the privilege of facing that much competition every single season and have that so accessible to them within their state or like around their area. And so it's so nice and I give so much kudos to the SSE conference because I know it gets a little personal and scrappy out there sometimes, but I think that we all have respect for each other and know that all of us are like great teams. And it's exciting to see every single team in our conference accomplish things on the field.
Now, in your freshman year, your team lost in the SSC championship game, and then you also lost in your first ever tournament game. The reason why I want to ask that is what did you take away from those two losses that you think helped you and your team for the next 3 seasons?
I think that that's when we really adapted like our underdog is the hungry dog. Hungry dogs run faster. Like you always have to be hungry for what's next type of mindset. Um, our team is like extremely competitive, and I think that you know, like losing big games like that like gives you more drive for like the next season, and you know that that's not enough. And I think that we took that motivation from every season and every previous loss or every like adversity that we would face in the future. And we used that to just motivate us and to keep going because we knew that we had bigger things to accomplish, even if it wasn't going to be that year or the next year. Like there were stepping stones that had to be placed in order to get to the national championship. And it wasn't going to come easily and it wasn't going to come quickly, but it had to happen over time. And so just looking one step ahead at like, okay, we didn't win the conference championship this year, but we're going to win it next year. And, we won the conference championship the next year, but now we need to get into NCAAs and just like pushing our goals even further ahead of us every single time, I think motivated us.
Yeah, I know you didn't play your sophomore year. You were injured for most of the season, but between your freshman and sophomore year, your team went from 11 to 18 wins. What would you say was like the biggest reason why your team made that jump between those 2 seasons? And then you finally won the SSC championship for the first time in your career. So what did it mean to sort of win that trophy for the first time, looking back on it now?
I think being a sophomore and not having that experience yet, it was obviously super exciting. It was probably the best day of my life, like up to that point, winning a conference championship it feels so big and it feels so like rewarding to do something like that, even though I wasn't playing, to be a part of a team that accomplished something like that was really great. I think the reason why we shifted from like our previous season to that season was purely just our mindset. I think that we could see that like maybe in the past, our goals, if you were to ask somebody my freshman year, oh, like, what are your goals for this season? It would have been to like win a conference championship or, to get it into NCAAs. But then once you start accomplishing those things, or you get into seasons where like, okay, we are accomplishing championships or conference championships every season, or we are making it into NCAAs, we need to readjust our goals to make them more challenging. I think that that's when we started shifting our mindset into like, okay, we can win national championships. We can make it past NCAAs. We can beat these number one, two ranked teams. So how are we going to come out and like prove that to everybody else? And how can we get better every single game?
Now, let's talk about your first national championship run. And you guys once again won the conference championship. I was just curious, like, what did this one mean to you as a junior since you finally got to like play in the game? And what was your team's mindset sort of heading into the tournament after winning that championship for the second time in your playing career?
Mhm. It was super exciting. Florida Southern is obviously always a really competitive game. And it's one of those games that I think a lot of us look forward to throughout the season. It holds a lot of weight, not just obviously within the conference and like nationally, but to ourselves. I feel like us in Florida Southern, we're always competing with each other, rightfully so. We're two teams that like are very comparable in a lot of ways, and it's always super fun to play that game and come out of it winning. And so I think that that gave us a lot of motivation going into NCAAs. Like I said, the SSC conference, I think, is probably the best conference in the nation. And so to know that we came out of that conference as champions, we also beat one of the best teams in the country, I think gave us a lot of confidence and motivation going into NCAAs.
And you guys had an incredible run in that junior year championship, beating two number one ranked teams to go on to win the national championship. Talk about the run your team had leading up to the championship game, and like, what do you remember most about it from that particular season?
I remember being so like excited and kind of nervous a bit because these were two teams that we don't see very often or that we don't get to play very often. So it was kind of like the unknown was a little bit scary, but I did know that the team that we had in that season, like we were not going to take no for an answer and we weren't going to fall short, especially for the girls that were on that team. We had a lot of fifth years and people who were going to be playing their last games. And like any game could be their last game. And so we were just super excited to like go out there. And I knew that no matter how hard it was or how unknown we were going to be facing or like the competition we were going to be facing was, that we were going to find a way to make it work. And I think that that's super exciting because I think a lot of creative things or fun things come from those moments when you're not really prepared for it.
You guys then beat Adelphi College to win the national championship for the first time in program history. What emotions were you going through after that win? And do like what sort of like yeah, what was like the first time in your career? Like what emotions I guess was the team like going through?
I think it was just a lot of obviously excitement and joy and like happiness, but also kind of relief. The relationship that that team had on our first national championship team was, I mean, it still is. Our team is like a family. And but those girls that we had played with at that time, a lot of them were taking their fifth years and they had been there like the entire time that we had played together. We had really great relationships with each other, and I don't think any of us wanted the season to end in a bad way for them specifically. I think a lot of us were playing for CC Colombo, for Gracie Colombo, for Sarah, for Alyssa, for Alex, for all of these people that were playing in their last games ever. And I don't think we wanted to lose that. So it was obviously a lot of joy and like excitement that we got to win it for them. But then there was also that moment of realization where it's like, wow, we did it, but like this was it. Like that was our last game with them. And what better way to finish like a season and everything with by winning a national championship with them and for them. But it was definitely kind of like nostalgic afterwards because we were like, wow, it's really over. And like that was our all of our last games together.
Now, what would you say has been like the biggest improvement you've made to your game throughout your collegiate career?
I think, and I think my coaches would agree, being in control. Even like when I was playing in high school, I would get told all the time, like, Bella, like you're really aggressive. That's gonna fly in college, but it's not gonna fly here in high school. Like you need to cut it back a bit. And then when I got to high or college, it was kind of amplified a bit with like the competition that we were facing. And my coaches would always be like, okay, Bella, like you're doing really well, but you can't get cards every single game. You can't get fouls every single game. You need to learn how to rein it in. And I do accredit a lot of my like transformation throughout college to my redshirt year, my injury year, and being able to watch how the game went, how the refing worked, how other people were playing, and kind of taking inspiration from like other girls that I was watching that I really looked up to, like Danny Waters, who graduated before us, Aaron Sistek, and being able to see how they played their game and then how to apply that when I came back and I was ready to play my junior year. And I think that I've been a lot more in control the past 2 years with how I've played, especially this year as well. Yeah.
Now, as a senior, what type of leadership did you want to bring towards the team? Would you consider yourself more of a vocal or lead by example type of player?
I think in the past I was definitely more of a vocal player. I'm a very like emotional person. So when like games get super tough, I'm like sitting there and I'm trying to like hype people up and like get everybody in and get everybody motivated. But I think this year I've taken the role of the lead by example type of player. I've learned that over the time that not everybody needs to have a voice, and we do have, or not needs to have a voice, but doesn't need to speak all the time. And we have captains, and I completely trust like their opinions and their decisions and like the things that they want to communicate to the team. And so learning to put my trust in them on all of the vocal stuff, and then knowing my role as coming out and challenging my teammates every single day so that practice is harder than games, and running as hard as I can every single day. I have people that, younger girls that look up to me, that ask me questions, that are constantly wanting me to help them. And I think the best way that I can do that is just by going out on the field every day at practice and playing with 110% and doing the same at games, and not even just with my effort, but also with like my attitude and how I go out on the field, being respectful to refs, being respectful and a good player to the teams that we're playing, how I talk to my teammates in times of like high stress and emotional moments and staying in control in those times, and just kind of getting the job done, but leading by example for everybody else.
Now, your team only lost one game this whole season. I just want to ask, how did your team maintain the consistency of winning all those games? Like, it's so hard to have a winning streak in college lacrosse, as you know. So I'm just curious how your team sort of maintained that consistency. Also, dealing with the pressure, knowing that there was a target on your team's back for being the defending champions. Everyone wants to beat you guys and have that sort of thing. So I'm just sort of curious, like, how your team sort of maintained that consistency and dealt with the pressure as well on top of it.
Yeah, I think, and we could all agree to this on my team, I believe, but we kind of needed to lose that game. I think it's necessary for everybody to face that type of adversity in order to be successful for the remainder of the season. And th luckily, we faced that so early on in the season that we knew kind of what it felt like to be in a high pressure situation like that and how to react in stressful moments, but also what did we do wrong in this situation and how can we improve ourselves for the rest of the season so that way in cases where it happens in the future where it does matter in, conference tournaments or in NCAA tournaments, like how can we adjust our game to be better? So I think that we didn't let it make us upset and we didn't really feel it too much. We definitely were upset for like that next 24 hours, but after that it was kind of like, okay, like we have Rollins next. Like how are we going to adjust? Like Rollins is a great team. How are we going to come out there? And as we face other teams in the future, now we know what it feels like to go into overtime. Now we know what it feels like to lose a game. We don't want to feel like that again this season. And how can we adjust so that way the results in our favor next time? So I think that we could all agree that that needed to happen. And as far as like maintaining the pressure and like dealing with it, I think that our team culture really is in the fact that like everybody is after us and like we constantly have to be ready for everybody's best game. And we saw that when we played Embry Riddle, and we saw that for every single game after that. And it's kind of terrifying because it's like, wow, like we have to be on all the time because every single team, it doesn't matter who it is going to give us their best game. They're going to put everything out there. They want to beat us so bad. Like as anybody would, you want to beat the defending national champions. And so I think that we've adjusted that idea into our culture, into our mindset for everybody on the team that you always have to go out and you have to play hard because that's what comes with being the defending national champions.
Now, you guys had another incredible run to the championship game. Talk about this particular run leading up to the championship game and like what you remember most about it. And do you have like a favorite like game? Like, was it the semifinal game? Was it the Elite Eight game? Like, which game sort of sticks out to you the most looking back on it now?
Um, I'm trying to think. I feel like probably in the tournament games, UND was definitely my favorite. Um, And this goes for the entirety of the season and the entirety of the run, but we always had like a running joke on our team that we were kind of like very nonchalant and like chill girls, and it would maybe stress our coaches out at times, but nothing really got to us. And I think that was because we faced so much adversity throughout the season with injuries, people playing in positions that they hadn't played in, stepping up in big moments. Freshmen really getting the opportunity to shine on our team this year was a huge one. And so um, kind of like staying chill at all times and like being able to handle the pressure. I think once you kind of trust in each other that, okay, we don't have to freak out. Like it's not that big of a deal if we're down by like 5 goals in UND in the first part of the game. It's not a big deal that, we're losing right now because we trust each other and we know that everything is going to work out in our favor. And I think once you kind of buy into that trust, then you have like so much more fun. And so we were goofing off like all the time and having a lot of fun with each other and coming out in full dog mask suits and Spartan suits and just like jumping around and making human pyramids on the sideline. And I think that that type of energy um, is really because that energy was still happening when we were down by a few goals at the beginning of the UND game. So I think that that really just is probably my favorite part of this season in our run, just having a lot of fun with each other.
Now, you guys beat Adelphi College again to win your second national championship. What emotions were you going through after that win? What was the biggest difference between this national championship game versus last year? And have you fully processed this, I guess, fully a month later, winning back to back? Because it's always hard to win one, as everyone knows, but some people might consider it impossible to win two in a row just because of how competitive Division II lacrosse is.
Yeah, no, Adelphi is an amazing team, and we've gotten the opportunity in the past year to play them 3 times, or I guess even last season, like 4 times, regular season, and then seeing them again in the tournament. And they always come out with a super hard game, and they play with a lot of heart and a lot of grit. And I think that that's comparable to our team in a way too. So there was definitely a lot of emotion and a lot of effort from Adelphi that like could be felt, which made the game feel really special. Also, like it's obviously a rematch from last year, so you have to put a lot of respect on seeing the same team, both of us seeing each other again in the same position. Um, but I think it was just super exciting to see them again. Obviously, having the opportunity to do it twice and then also do it against like the same team in the same position, it kind of makes it feel even crazier because you're like, wow, we did it once, but like to do it again and like to play the same team again is kind of crazy. So I think it was kind of just surreal to play them again.
What was the coolest thing you've gotten to do because of winning the national championship? Did you guys get like a parade or anything like that?
Last year we got invited to the White House, and I actually didn't end up going to that because it was like a really short notice and I couldn't end up making it work. But a bunch of girls on my team got to go to the White House, which was pretty cool. And I'm not sure if they'll do that again this year, but that would be pretty sick if we could go back to that. But besides that, like the ring ceremony was just so fun to have everybody back that graduated come back and all get our rings and go out and celebrate one last time and kind of like live in the glory of winning the national championship, I think is the best part.
Well, let's sort of go on to a segment I like to call the non-lacrosse segment, where I ask you non-lacrosse questions to get to know you more off the field. And my first question to you is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
This is a funny question because I don't think I actually have like a celebrity lookalike, and I've thought about this so many times. But I guess if I had to choose, I would say like maybe like Zoe Saldana or Zendaya or something. I feel like maybe we kind of resemble each other in some ways, but I also love them as actors, so.
Now, where is one place you would love to travel to soon?
My bucket list is to go to like every national park in the country. So hopefully next is like, I don't know, Yosemite or Zion or something cool like that. I'd love to go see those.
Now, you obviously have great style, arguably the best style on the team, but besides yourself, who would you say has the best style on the UTampa women's lacrosse team?
I think arguably Sia Markowski has the best style on the team. She's the teammate that everybody is texting before we go out or before we have like a fancy event that we need to go to, or if you're even just going on a dinner by yourself, you're like, hey, Sia, I'm going to this restaurant. Like, what do you think I should wear? Could you please style me what clothes? And she's like, please come into my closet, take whatever you want. You can wear it, you can keep it if you want to. Like, she's the nicest person ever, but she also has the best clothes. And I think everybody has gone into her closet a couple of times on this team and taken something from there.
Now, last on the cross question is what's been the most interesting thing you've read or seen recently?
Um, Interesting thing that I've read or seen recently. I go on like these weird, when you're like scrolling on TikTok and some random video about some random thing in history pops up, and then you just go down a rabbit hole of like tapping the search bar and like watching videos on it. I went down a rabbit hole of like the Mongolian Empire the other night and was just watching like a bunch of videos on that. So I think that that was probably the thing of most substance that I've taken in recently. But besides that, I've been watching a lot of Love Island and Handmaid's Tale. So.
Yeah. Well, I unfortunately don't know anything about Love Island, so I can't comment on that. But I will say I definitely do the same thing on social media, going down those rabbit holes. I think the last one that I was on was someone made this video about they went to the site where World War I started because it was like started on some bridge. And it's
Mhm.
crazy how like this one little event basically started World War I and probably definitely started World War II too, if you think about it. Like this one little event had caused this huge ripple effect in history that changed the 20th century. So that was
Mhm.
probably a pretty interesting thing to learn about for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I just was watching World War One videos actually the other day too. So.
Yeah, I think the saddest one I saw was there was like this video of this guy who was a veteran of World War I and he was going through like post-traumatic stress and
Mhm.
like you don't think you obviously know that it's like a d big deal now but like you don't think that also was going on back in the day like really long
Right.
time ago and it's just
Mhm.
sad to think about that probably no one knew what how to fix it or like how to deal with it so that was probably like kind of a very sad thing though but I thought that was pretty interesting to learn about for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, one more question I want to ask you, Bella, is what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse from your perspective?
I think creating an equal environment for everybody, starting at like the most basics. I know that there's been a lot of talk after the national tournament this year, especially from the Tufts team, about having equality for Division 2 and 3 women's lacrosse. And I think that it would be incredible to see the NCAA respond in that manner and help make a difference, especially just for girls who are looking to play lacrosse in college. Obviously, not everybody is going to want to or going to be able to play at the Division 1 level. Not everybody can play at UNC or is going to want to play there. So it's great that these Division 1 teams are getting a lot of recognition, and growth for women's lacrosse in any way is growth for everyone. But a lot of girls don't know or don't really have any idea about the competition levels or what Division 2 and 3 lacrosse is like when they're in high school. I had no idea coming in even what Division 2 lacrosse was and what the teams were. And, in my head, I thought that it was less than Division 1 because I hadn't heard about it. So I think putting them on an equal playing field and giving the opportunity for people to see that all of these divisions are meant for different things and meant for different players. And, you can still be highly competitive and go to Division 2 or Division 3 and still win national championships and, get the individual goals that you've been striving for, and putting us on the same playing field as them and letting other people see us in the same way that they're seeing them and being celebrated in the same way that Division 1 is being celebrated. I think is really important, especially for the growth of Division 2 and Division 3 lacrosse.
Well, Bella, do you have any shout outs you want to give to your family members, friends, teammates, classmates, and who should we have on the podcast next?
Um, Shout out to my 2025 national championship team. Love you guys so much. And I think the next person that you should have on the podcast is Maddie Schillick, number 50 on our team. She was a freshman this past season and had an incredible freshman year run and accomplished a lot of great things. And I'm so excited to see how she grows up in these next coming seasons. And especially after I graduate, I'm going to be following along. And she's just one of the best players I've ever seen. So I think that she would be great on here.
Awesome. We'll definitely have to reach out and see what she has to say. But Thank you so much, Bella, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. I think you're a great player, an even better person, and just want to congratulate you once again on winning the national championship twice. And obviously, wishing that you have a great off season and another great and successful season for your fifth year.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been really fun, and I'm glad I got to relive the great moments that happened this past year.